Okay, people. I know it's been a really, really long while since I last uploaded. I apologize. School has been an absolute nightmare, and my mental health ain't exactly the best. Neither are my grades, but we don't talk about that. Okay, welcome to Cryptid Cast, people. Well, this is going to be more of a rant from me, but let's get down to business, since that's what you guys are here for anyway, and oh boy, do I have a serious issue to talk about because this topic has been on my mind for weeks. So, in case you haven't noticed already, this episode is about National History Day. So, what exactly is National History Day? So, for those of you that aren't aware or are lucky enough to never have experienced this soul crushing, grade destroying trial from God Himself, disguised as a simple history assignment, National History Day is something most GT students in the American school system have experienced at least once. National History Day is actually a lot older than you'd think. The first National History Day was hosted in Cleveland, Ohio, by David Van Tassel, a history professor at Case Western Reserve University in 1991, although it actually started to gain traction around the really early 2000s. Personally, I feel like National History Day is rooted in a really great ideal. It's a way for unheard voices to speak up and for unexplored or really unknown corners of history to be brought into the spotlight. Now, I bet you guys are wondering, hey, Puzzle, isn't this an episode about everything wrong with NHD? And yes, that's what this episode is about, but I should give credit where it's due before I talk about this event's problems. You see, ever since I can remember, National History Day was always a huge roadblock in the path to an all-A report card. Not that I've ever really had one. The topics are always so abstract, and my autism and ADHD don't help. I've always had serious issues with putting my thoughts into coherent words. I speak in colors, shapes, and lines, and with this year's topic being something as non-pictorial as frontiers, my grade has suffered and it's led me into a depression. Every few days I've been waking up feeling like not waking up. And this is not me being pick-me or a cringy emo kid. These are genuine thoughts I've been having. If we're being honest, I'm surprised I'm back on the grind, but enough about me. Let's move on. So, problem number one. National History Day isn't exactly disability friendly. You see, National History Day is a graded assignment, which means that your grade for an entire quarter, or more or less, I'm not sure, hinges entirely on your ability to put your thoughts into sentences and thesis statements. You'd think that putting such a responsibility on a kid's shoulders should be optional, right? Well, not exactly. It doesn't matter if you've got great English skills, a non-screwed up brain, and a perfect report card, which is a life I would kill to have, by the way. Or a kid like me with communication issues, anxiety, and a difficult time understanding abstract, hard issues. And every single student is somehow expected to know how to write down something as complicated as why Ruth Bader Ginsburg was a frontier in history in 3 sentences with no contractions and beautifully forged controls, while pretending that they genuinely care about this year's topic of discussion. But as you guys probably know, and my fellow neurodivergent listeners here especially do, that's not the case. Um, we aren't all exactly Shakespeare. Because although some of the school system in America doesn't want to admit it really, there are kids out there that are built differently, talk differently, act differently, think differently, communicate differently, in this case, most importantly of all, write differently. And this leads us to problem number 2, because although National History Day is great and all, by restricting the ways we can communicate our thoughts and feelings about a certain day or event or person in history to a grueling, intimidating project that not only is so alien to us in the way it is formatted, but threatens to drop our grades to humiliating C's, E's, D's, and F's if we don't learn how to write in this way overnight. It's silencing our voices. And it also makes neurodivergent students like me sometimes feel absolutely stupid, because every year I face this monstrosity of a project, and every single year it tears me mentally to shreds. To me, I've always felt as if National History Day is a project that only really is meant for neurotypical people or neurodivergent people with very proficient English/communication skills to partake in. And I know that I could theoretically hit the target if I tried hard enough, but the brutal deadlines, oh god, did I mention the deadlines? Bar me from doing so because it takes me days, if not weeks, to get a coherent thesis statement written that will actually keep my grades afloat. But that isn't the only part of NHT I don't see eye to eye with. Yeah, I'm not done. These students are put under the utmost pressure and shotgunned through deadline after deadline, after paper, only to be told that their hard work can be displayed optionally. Let's describe it this way. You'd think that all the hard work, mental strain, and physical stress of having to sit at a screen and sit through quintillions of web pages to meet a deadline at 7:45 a.m. the next day would amount to something, right? You'd think that everyone was required to present their work if this much time and effort was put into it. But it's optional. It makes me feel discouraged every time I hear National History Day come out of the mouth of my teacher. And a lot of children don't get the mental and academic support that they need for these kind of massive, towering projects, neurotypical or neurodivergent. And I know there are students that will always be able to stand on their own, but I feel like they shouldn't be the ones to get all of the attention from their teachers. Yes, they deserve attention, but we're kind of being forgotten here. And I know it sounds dramatic, but I feel that National History Day is one of the best examples of the difference between students with and without the tools they need, and how absolutely gaping the rift between them can be at times. One group flies while the other crashes and burns, and that kind of needs to change. Okay, this episode was pretty intense. I felt like I had to get my thoughts out there for a second. If you'd stayed with me through this emotional trauma dump of an episode, then I thank you so much for listening. And I get that this probably wasn't what you were expecting after months of me, not posting on here. And I'm sorry. But I felt like this would be a bit of an attention-grabbing topic, especially for my fellow middle school and high school listeners. Um, uh, and school is difficult, but all of you guys hang in there. And to all of my Patreon supporters, thank you so much. I've been saving up for a new mic, in case you didn't tell already by the quality. But this was an episode of Cryptidcast. It was kind of more of a rant, really. Thank you for listening and joining me, and I'll see you next time. Bye!